everyone. This is Nitya Chablani, Managing Editor of Vogue.in. I hope all of you have been enjoying the live conversations we've been hosting today as part of the Vogue Women of the Year 2020 celebration, which is taking place not just today but also tomorrow and day after. So you're going to be meeting lots of amazing, inspiring women all weekend. And today I'm going to be chatting with one such woman who we are celebrating this year. She's not just an actor who's paved her own path in Bollywood, she's also over the years given us some of the most interesting, fun, and equally empowered characters to enjoy both in movies and in web series. She's as much an actor as she is an activist. She's one of the boldest voices in the industry, and she stirs up interesting and important conversations on a regular basis on her own social media channels. Honestly, you have to follow her. I'm speaking about none other than Swara Bhaskar, who I'm going to be adding into this chat right now. We're just waiting for Swara to connect. So while we wait for Swara, let me just give you guys a little brief about what we're going to be chatting with her today about. The theme of our conversation is how I made it. So we're going to be talking to Swara about her entire journey, how she's reached where she has, the roles she's taken on. And I really hope you guys enjoyed. We're really excited to talk to her, just waiting for her to join in. In case you guys want to know what else you can expect from the weekend, all you really need to do is follow Vogue India on Instagram. You'll find all the updates right there. And today at 6:30 p.m. will be the first leg of our award ceremony. And you'll also be able to watch other sections of the ceremonies on Saturday and Sunday. So we're just going to wait for her. I think she's having a little bit of trouble with her connection. There you are.
Hi. Hello. Sorry, I'm in a place where my connection is okay.
I know, that's what I thought. Don't worry about it. You're just on time. How are you?
Hi, I'm very well. How are you?
I'm all right. Where are you, by the way? Are you with family in Delhi?
I'm with family in Delhi, and I'm back at home after literally, I'm not joking, 11 years. In 11 years, I have not spent so much time at home as I have at this time because of the pandemic or whatever. So I guess weirdly, I have the pandemic to thank for that. But it's been amazing. It's so lovely to be home again with my parents. Ooh. All right, we have light.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm loving it. I'm just loving being back at home. Yeah, it's amazing.
I have to say, I completely agree. I'm in the same boat as you. This year, I've actually had to come back home after 10 years. And I love it. Every day is in my pajamas. It's a blast. It's
amazing. And also, like, we never realize how much living at home with your family, I live alone in Bombay. So Like,
Yeah.
you have to stress about nothing, no bills, no like buy, no
Amazing
like
food. I mean,
amenities. Food is
you don't have
great.
to
Like,
do
yeah, I'm
anything.
having a
Always,
blast.
yeah, I have to say I agree. So while we were waiting for you to join in, I was actually telling everybody who was watching that the reason we're so excited to talk to you today is because you belong to this new school of actors who are not poker faced. You do speak out when you have something to say. You don't shy away from that. And what's really amazing about your body of work is that even your characters do the same thing. I feel like there's this thread because all the characters you play, they're fun. They're definitely not too heavy, but somehow they all teach you a certain lesson or they inspire you to look at women a little differently.
This is not vodka, it's water.
I mean, it's a Friday evening-ish, so I feel like if it was vodka,
Actually, yeah, I'm at the end of a long shooting day. This should have been vodka. Um,
feel free to
yeah,
just knock
yeah.
it
Sorry.
off.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that I've been both cautious and judicious in my choice of roles, but I've also been very lucky to have had those offers in the first place. I think what a lot of people don't realize about actors and our choice of work is that we can only say yes from the pool of offers we've got.
That's true.
I think that I have been very cautious and in what I've chosen. And I guess it does, you're right, that it does, a lot of it seems to reflect the causes I believe in or the things I stand for, whether
Yeah,
it's an Nilbati Sonata or an Anarkali of Ara or
yeah,
Flesh or even an early film
yeah.
like Listen Amaya, which is a really beautiful emotional story, but ultimately, spoke about how women should have the right to live how they want with yeah, at whatever age they are at. So yeah, I think
Right.
that you're right about that. I hadn't quite thought of it in that way, but it's true.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I mean, I'm a fan. I've seen some of your films and I've really enjoyed them. So we are actually, I do have a couple of questions about those. But let's start with the very beginning. Like you said, you're from Delhi. I think your father is now retired, but he was also in the military while you were growing up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's completely removed from the world of films.
That's me right
How
there with
have
my That's me right there with my mom. I don't know. That picture is a picture of me and my mom. Oh God, did I?
how cute.
Yeah, that's me dancing with my mother.
Did you always, I mean, as a child, were you always into like dance and theater? Is that something you were always inclined towards?
Yeah, I was an absolute, what you call a notanki and a dramebaz. Like every single, my father used to call me Isadora Duncan, Isadora after Isadora Duncan, the very
Yeah.
famous ballerina, because he was like, she's such a, like, this child is just so dramatic. Like every day I'd come back and I'd be like 5 years old or 6 years old. I'd be like, mama, papa, aaj kya hua? Aaj na Rafi ne Rachel ka paratha kha liya aur na. And then I would describe the scene and what happened, and like where there was like not enough drama, I'd add some of my own, and like, oh my God, every day, like my parents when I'd come home would listen for like 15-20 minutes to my stories. So yeah, I've loved an audience from when I was a little kid, and
Yeah.
I actually think that there could have been no other profession. I mean, I was headed this way anyway.
Always. It was in your blood.
Yeah, very. I mean, it was in my bones, I think.
Yeah. And growing up, which stars did you look up to? Who really, was there any one celebrity who you would watch and think, I want to do what they're doing?
So I actually grew up, and we didn't cable TV had just come to India when we were very little, and we didn't get cable for a very long time because we were not
Yeah.
allowed, because my father once got it for 1 month and realized that we were just like on the
Yeah.
television, like we were just not doing our homework, not doing any work. So
Yeah.
my dad was like, this is rubbish, they can't watch television. So he cut the cable, and so we only had Doordarshan, and Doordarshan would have this Chitrahar program. So if there's any 90s babies on this chat, they will know that we had yeah. So there was Doordarshan had this program called Chitrahar, and I was obsessed with Chitrahar. And I would literally wait for Wednesday and Friday 8:30 p.m. to watch songs for half an hour. And I wanted to do that. I was like, this seems incredible. And then I remember very specifically watching an interview that had Amir Khan and Ravina Tandon in it. And they were like joking about the games they played and on set, and like some some joke that they some prank with Amir sir. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, this work looks like so much fun. Like, it's not like the crap homework I have to do. Like, this is just amazing. And I was like, I want to be in Chitrahar. So for the longest time, it was just this desire to be in Chitrahar. And then, of course, I grew up and forgot about it. And then I actually remember the point when I was like, I want to be on screen. It was when I was watching Omkara in what was a single screen, then Chanakya theater in Delhi. And I was blown by that film. Of course, Vishal.
It's a brilliant film. It's really wonderful.
He's one of my favorite directors. And I was watching that film and I was just like, oh my God, I want to be in such films. I want to be there. I want to be on screen. And that's really what it, by which time I was actually I think in college or in ending of 12th, class 12 maybe. And I just, that was when it came back again, that desire.
And that moment of realization for you, of course, is one life-changing moment. But what about the day you actually, like, was there a moment when you actually sat down with your parents and said, listen, I know you guys know I love to do stuff like this, but I actually want to like make this my profession?
Yeah, I remember that as well. I was sitting, my parents were, it was in the evening, I think it was around 7:38. And I actually brought a very dear friend of mine, who was almost like a mentor figure for me. And I brought him home because he'd worked in Bombay and he was working as an AD. And I asked him to talk to my parents. And I remember telling them that I want to go to Bombay and try and become an actor. And they were stunned because I was in my MA and I was finishing my master's degree and in JNU. And they had no idea because I was basically prepping. I had registered to take my GRE and I was prepping to take the exam that you take when you want to go for postgrad studies in the US. And I was planning to do a PhD in anthropology. This was the plan, like everyone else in my class.
And then a whole 180, she comes home and says, I want to be in films.
And they were just like, I mean, they had no, it was like literally, I mean, I wasn't even the kind of kid that, you know, like the young girl who does even basic makeup or anything that would give a hint that this person will will be able to survive showbiz.
Yeah.
So for the longest time, my parents were like, just like, what are you gonna, like what are you gonna do?
Oh God.
And yeah, they were just like, my dad still today can't believe it. Like, he often tells me, I mean, you're not a typical actress, you know.
Well, I mean, that's true, you're not. But, you know, I mean, I think that's great. It's amazing that you're not. You know, it's so nice to have people who are doing different things now, and that opportunity is available because of so many new platforms that have come up as well.
Absolutely. I think that it was the decade that I like so 2010, which is my first release, Madhulal Keep Walking, to 2020. I think this decade has been, and even before that, I would say like maybe 2-3 years before that, this decade has just been the most it's just changed Bollywood. And I think that that actually has a lot to do with social media and the manner in which social media has led to the democratization of public opinion and of critique and criticism of film, because there is no way now for producers and directors and makers to basically ignore what viewers and audiences actually feel. So like, and this happened with me a lot, like after all my films, whether it was all my early films, Tanu as Manu Rajna, there were people who were hashtagging my name and they were like asking, who's that girl? There's no way, even for an actor like me who's actually come up to supporting actor category and has worked their way up, there's no way to ignore me now because the audience is reminding the makers. So absolutely. I think that was amazing for me, and I really feel very grateful to have been part of the industry at this time.
Yeah, I'm actually very glad you brought up Madhulal Keep Walking, because even though I know so many of your films, I did Google you when I found out that I would be chatting with you. Like, any responsible journalist. So I looked you up and I didn't know about this movie until I read about it. And it sounds amazing. It's now on my watch list. I'm going to watch it this weekend. And as a debut film, that's not your, typical debut film at all. What drew you towards this particular project?
So, I actually had a very, it was interesting because my struggle was never finding work. My struggle was always finding work that will release, because you don't realize this on the outside. But when you're in the industry, you realize that it's not enough to just shoot a film. You have to shoot a film where the producer will have the wherewithal to release it. And or either it's with a studio, then your problems are sorted. But if it's an independent film, then there's a whole other struggle. Oh, hello. Just say hello to my doggy. Gary, say hi. Oh, one second. He's like, me. Hey, you came here now. Say hi, Babu. Say hi.
Oh, we love having dogs on camera. This is the brightest spot of my day.
Look at this baby boy. Look at Godi in his sweater. Look at Godi.
Well, he's in Delhi. He better be wearing a sweater. It's almost December.
Yeah, poor thing. No boating. So, Godi, one second. So, sorry about that. My first film, the first film that I shot, actually hasn't released to date.
Yes, I found that as well. Yes, thank you, Wikipedia.
and that actually taught me a lot, because it made me realize that I got my first film 3 months into coming to Bombay, and I was like, all right, I've arrived. I've got a film. I'm the central character. It was a very art house film, of course, but I was like, all right, this is done. And then it just didn't release. And I was like, oh my God. So it's not enough to just do films. You have to do films that will release. Madhulal was also a very small independent film. And of course, it was a lovely story. But the other thing was also that I think very early on, I realized, also because of the people around me, that I'm not a star child. I'm not even a model. I don't have a godfather in the industry. I'm not going to get launched opposite a Shah Rukh or a Salman, or it's not going to be one of those big launches that are announced and awaited and whatever. And I didn't want to waste any time. I mean, the one thing I just couldn't do was I didn't want to sit around waiting for that perfect break. I was like, I will find it. I will make it. I will seek it. And I will, literally, I am such a seeker like that. I was like, I'll just go, I will do what I get, and I will build. Like, I will build with small blocks first and then with bigger blocks. I always think of my journey as, that story of the hare and the khargosh and the kachua, the tortoise and the hare, and the hare ran off, and then the tortoise was like slowly going, but then he finally just basically reached the finish line.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I always think of myself as that, the slowly and steadily, just building on what you have, building on what you find. Like, that's how it's been for me. It's not been like I did not shoot to success, but luckily, of course, I will say with a lot of gratitude that I have had regular success, like in terms of every few years, there was always a film that did really well, a role that was really appreciated. So I kind of just stayed alive. Like, it's so funny that every time there'd be a film with me, people would be like, breakout performance. I don't know how many breakout, like there's about 6 breakout performances that I can think of.
You're exploding left, right and center.
I was like, 2-3 baar to launch ho chuki hu main.
Funny. But are there any misconceptions you had about not just Bollywood, just the overall industry of theatre that you feel now you look at differently?
I mean, a huge misconception that I had was that it's easy, that acting is easy, or that work is easy. I mean, and that actors are spoiled, and they're like, no, they're just spoiled brats, and like they don't do any work. This is not true at all. I mean, the biggest stars that I have seen have been the most hardworking. I mean, if you look at Shah Rukh and you look at Shah Rukh's work, I mean, that man's work ethic is something that all of us should imbibe. I've seen Varun, I've seen Sonam, I've seen everyone that I've worked with they have just been such tremendously hardworking people. So disciplined. I mean, Kareena, I have not seen a more disciplined person than Kareena. And she makes it look easy and stuff, but she is a relentlessly disciplined person. So I think that was a huge misconception I had. I also had this idiotic misconception that everyone has that all stars are all brattish and arrogant and horrible. And I think one of the people who really sort of disarmed me of that opinion is Sonam, because I think that Sonam has been one of the most generous and wonderful people to work with. I mean, I've worked with I've worked with star children and I've worked with non-star children, and I have to say that, I mean, actually, it is the star children who are better behaved than some of the outsiders. Um, yeah, I think that I think the industry has made me less judgmental. I think when I came to the industry, I had a lot of. I mean, of course, it was also a defense mechanism because I was young and I was vulnerable. But I was very judgy, and I think that the industry has taught me to be a more empathetic and a kinder person. And everyone has their struggles. That's one for sure. The other thing that is a misconception, the hard work thing was for sure. And I have to say this. You think that actors are the be all and end all of the industry, but actually actors do the least amount of work. We come in last, we leave first. We are not part of the 3-4 month long pre-production process that goes on before a film is shot or any work is shot. We only come in for the 35, 40, 50, 60 days of shoot. We get out as soon as our shoot is done. There is a whole 3, 4, 5 month process of post that happens that we are not part of. So and even on set, we have the least amount of work. We don't do any hard labor. It's like the lighting team, the camera team, the art teams that are doing all the hard labor. The ADs are always on their feet. The directors, nobody else gets a break, but actors after every shot get a break to sit down, which is fine. That's the nature of our work. We need to be away while they set up, and then we have to go there and perform. I get that, but the kind of credit we get, and I think more than the kind of credit we get, I think the fact that a lot of the other people don't get enough credit, the technicians don't get enough credit. I think that is something that made me realize filmmaking, you can't do it yourself. It is teamwork.
Absolutely. No, it takes an army. Yeah.
It really takes an army, and everyone is important. Everyone has a role to play. I mean, if the spot boy on a film shoot, the spot boy team, the team of people who serve us tea and do all the like basic labor servicing and labor work and give us water. If we don't have spot boys, we can't shoot a film. You can't shoot a film without someone who's giving you water and tea regularly. You cannot. It is so tiring.
Yeah.
So I think that was also very humbling for me to realize that everyone has a role. It's not just actors.
Absolutely. I have to say I agree completely with that. Coming to all the roles, which I was telling you, I can't wait to discuss all your roles. Over the years, like you said, even in Tanu X Manu, where you're playing a supporting actor, you have such a fiery personality that character of yours did. Or if you're looking at like that sexy teacher in Rasbhari, or you're looking at, the girl you played in Veere, who's, she's got this fabulous life, but at the end of the day, she's almost in a gilded cage, So and of course, one of my favorites is the mom in Nilbate Sanata, who's doing everything she can to give her daughter a better life, and her daughter just couldn't care less. Out of all the people you've played, which one would you say has been the most challenging for you to portray, and why?
So as an actor, there were 3 roles that two that were the most fulfilling for me. 3 actually was Bindya and Ranjana. Because there was just the kind of pure, you don't find characters that are so pure often and that just sit in your heart like that. Then Nilbate Sanata, the mother, because I'd never, it's much easier to play a role younger than yourself because you have a memory of that experience. Everyone remembers, their first kiss, their first falling in love, their first crush, the first time they got yelled at, whatever. How do you have no memory of, even if I have a child today, I don't know what it's like to be a mother of a teenager. I don't have that experience. So I don't have something to go back to. So I have to build from the experiences of other people. So that was a huge challenge. Anarkali of Ara was, again, a character that I connected, I think, the most deeply with. Like, literally, I feel like I got possessed by her. But one of the hardest characters that I actually, even to date, I feel, I don't know if I was able to quite pull that off, was Veere the Wedding. Because I just initially could not relate to this rich brat who seems so shallow. So I actually had to build something about her which was endearing, something about her that I would like, something about her that I could connect to. And of course, what I built was a filthy vocabulary. I was like, yeah, this girl's grown up in a palace, but she swears like a truck driver. And I was like, yeah, now I get her. So I think that you always have to find one key to unlock every character before you go and inhabit it. And of course, you can build it the way you want. So yeah.
And which character would you say is the most like the real Swara?
Anarkali.
Yeah.
Anarkali, but also I think in Rasbhari, the teacher part of Rasbhari, not the
The no
not
nonsense.
Rasbhari, but the teacher. I think that actually that was a very that was actually a very endearing character and a very
Yeah,
empowered character that people
yeah.
that you know uh, I think that in in themes that have seduction in them, you always only think about the seduction aspect. You don't think about the empowerment aspect at all. But
Right. When we're talking, I mean, right now, of course, we're talking about your roles and the people you've played on screen, but even otherwise, even in your personal life, whenever you do something that, doesn't fit into a certain mold, you're bound to get some resistance, you're bound to get some negativity. How do you deal with people on the internet, trolls, people who are saying things that you don't agree with and who are sending you basically negative stuff?
I deal with it by ignoring it. I deal with it by depends on my mood. The day I don't feel like engaging, I ignore it. The day I feel a little like, all right, let's engage, I fight. I think quote retweet is the best invention of this decade, because it's
Yeah,
a way to shame your trolls. It's a way to actually
yeah,
make your point, show what they said, and then like give it back to them. And I think that some days I deal with them with humor. Some days I deal with them like seriously with a little anger, and some days I just ignore them. So it's really up to my mood. But I would say that I think that trolling and this kind of there is one kind of critique which is constructive, which you want to take.
yeah.
There is another kind of critique that is unfortunately, what do you mind? He's brought lots of paper for to tear right here. Like he will not tear it where he's found it. He will bring it here and show me and tear it.
Because you also have to be part of his activity.
Exactly. We have to be part of this.
Yeah.
This is what goes on the whole day. This is how I spent my pandemic, by the way.
Well, one
Uh,
of my friends at work just got a dog, and she's got her hands full as well. And
yeah.
we love looking at her. So please feel free to show us
I'm
your dog.
sorry. I know. I'm sorry. I'm like those parents who just had a child and they're like,
No, but we
yeah,
love
child,
it.
yeah, child. Like I know it's very irritating when people constantly make you do
Not
that.
at all,
Give it love.
honestly. Not at all.
So anyway, so yeah. Sorry, what was I saying? Now I've forgotten because of the dog and everything.
Trolls.
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, I think that, I mean, for me, it's basically, I think that trolling is a kind of bullying, and bullying is a form of cowardice, and it's something that we must learn to resist and stand up to. I mean, there's just no other way to deal with it.
Absolutely. I think that's for anyone else who's dealing with the same. I think that's a great way to deal with it. After all the years that you've been in the industry, now, especially now, this year when you're at home and you're able to just chill out with your family, do you ever just sit back and think, wow, I've actually made it? Or do you still feel like, no, I have a long way to go, there's many goals I need to achieve?
I have a problem, which is that I don't always recognize my achievements. And I feel like that is a problem that a lot of Indian women actually
Yeah,
have, because
yeah,
we are always taught to be humble and modest about our achievements and not
yeah,
celebrate our achievements enough, but hype everyone else. So I'm a big hyper of everyone else, but like I don't often recognize my achievements. But I have to say that my family, my parents, my brother, my sister-in-law, my cousin, sister, my best friends, like I have amazing people around me who keep reminding me that
yeah.
I should value what I have achieved. And so it's been a learning process actually. I do It's not a thought that comes often to my mind, but I oftentimes when I meet strangers who stop me and like talk to me and tell me, and a lot of the times it's people who say that, we look up to you for, the fact that you're speaking out or whatever that, and a lot of young girls are like, we like your work, if we're so inspired that you could have gone there and made it on your own and all that. That is the time when I feel like, all right, I must have done something right. um the most. But luckily for me, that happens a lot because I'm always hanging around. Like I'm just always hanging on the streets. No, not always hanging on the streets, but like I'm out a lot and I'm on, like, because you travel a lot, you meet a lot of people.
Yes.
So that's actually when I remember it the most. But I have to tell you the one moment when I thought I must have done something right, and more like I was like, oh my god, I'm living someone's dream for sure, even if it's not mine, but it is mine. But like, I was standing on the set of Prem Ratan Dhan Payo. I had Suraj Barjati on one side, I had Salman Khan on the other side. We were waiting for an elephant had crapped during
Oh,
the song shoot
yeah.
of Prem Ratan Dhan Payo, or some scene we were shooting that had elephants in
But
it.
there's something you're not going to see in the final edit.
No, no. So we were waiting for that thing to be cleaned up. And I was just standing there and I was looking at this massive, typical Bollywood set. Like, you don't get more Bollywood than Rajashri Productions and Surat Sir and Salman Khan. And I'm standing there and there's like 500 extras, like, 10 Hathis, like 50 Ghodas, like some like big set in ND Studio in Karjan. And there's Surat Sir here and there's Salman Sir here. And I just looked and I looked at this and I was like, wow, Swara, you're basically living somebody's dream. And that somebody is like 90% of the young TV watching population of this country. And you're standing here chatting with them and you're in this film. And like, I was like, yeah, I think I did do something right. So that was nice. That was
It's
good.
the real feeling.
Yeah.
With everything that you've gone through, Swara, what's one piece of advice you'd like to give to those people whose dream life you are living right now?
I would say it's great to dream. You must dream. You must dream and you must be stubborn about your dream. You must have faith in your dream. But you must also equip yourself to fulfill your own dream. Do not expect someone else to do it. So I am a great believer in training. I think that if you want to be an actor, if you want to be a performer, if you want to be a writer, director, whatever, learn. You don't have to go to a school if you do not have the opportunity. I am not formally trained as an actor, but I have trained wherever I could find the opportunity, whether it was theater workshops, whether it was individual classes, whether it was any opportunity to learn that I find. In fact, I was supposed to be doing a 3-month-long acting workshop where I was learning new techniques in New York this February to May or March to May. And the pandemic happened and then everything shut down. And like, they were like, oh, we don't know, we're not sure. And then eventually there was a lockdown. So I missed that opportunity and I've been feeling so bad about it because it would have been a good time to do this. But yeah, so I think train yourself to equip yourself to achieve your dream. And the other thing I would say is that this is something my father told me: learn to say no. He didn't say this, but like what he said to me was, just remember that in your life you have to look at yourself every day in the mirror. Just remember that we have to live with all our choices always. So anything you do, just remember that. I think that, like, that you have to always, you have to make choices and then you live by the consequences of those choices, and that's fine. But this is what I would say: training is the biggest thing.
So it's like positive thoughts, but also with action, so that you actually
Absolutely. Action. I'm a great believer in action. I'm a great believer in effort. I'm a great believer in intention. So I think that is very important. And yeah, I mean, it's a gamble. So, you have to go in with your eyes. And I, for the longest time, had like a plan B. I was like, oh, should I do a B.Ed, become a teacher? Should I do a PhD? Should I study side by side? Should I have another, all kinds of
just something to fall back on just in case.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. So before I let you go, Swara, there are a couple of quick questions I want to ask you.
One-word answers. I know I talk a lot. Let's give one-word answers.
Try to answer fast. You can answer long also, I don't mind. But no pressure if you can't. So just be perfect, but like no pressure. So who's one woman who's always inspired you to give your 100%?
I mean, my mother is one of my biggest inspirations, and she is also like a big role model for me. She's not here, so I can say it openly, but like, she is the most perfect career woman, come also homemaker. Like, she's had a career, she still is working, and yet she's been like this most perfect mother, wife, whatever. And like, I think that just watching her live her life, I realized that like, family doesn't need to be a barrier for a woman's life. It can also be the foundation upon which you fly or soar or grow, so I would say my mother has been one of the, and she's also my biggest strength, actually. Both my parents, but definitely my mother.
Perfect answer. You should show her that on Mother's Day.
I know. Please send me this clip, because she's always like, hey, you don't appreciate me.
All right. If you could star in a biopic of one woman, who would you choose?
Indira Gandhi.
Okay. What's the best part about being a woman in 2020?
We have we don't just have our voice, we now have the confidence to use it, and we have a support system. I think that whether it's the media, whether it's other people, whether it's public discourse, whether it's civil society, there has never been a time when people have been so receptive to the voices and the stories of women as they are today. And there has never been a time when women were so self-consciously aware of the fact that they must tell their stories and also build networks of solidarity. Women have always had solidarity. It's always been personal and like, in the families and in whatever.
Yes.
But I think that now it's across, like, I love seeing girls hyping other girls on the internet. I do it all the time.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that this is the best time to be a girl, especially in India.
I agree. What's the best part about being a woman in the Indian film industry?
I think that the best part is that in today or like forever.
Forever.
I think that songs will make legends out of you. So if you get a good song, then you'll be remembered forever in like this legendary way. So like, Madhubala is now always remembered as Anarkali, and for Pyar Kiya To Darna Kya. Hema ji is always remembered as Dream Girl. So I think that Madhuri is remembered as the Dhak Dhak Girl. Sridevi ji is always remembered as Hawa Hawai. So I think that I love the relationship between Bollywood songs and Bollywood heroines.
Because music is, honestly, music is such a huge part of the industry, and that's what makes it so. You can't stop listening, honestly. Last question. It's the pandemic. You can only have 3 people over for dinner, and you're going to choose 3 powerful women to have over for a meal. Who are these 3 women on your guest list?
I would say, because she's just won an election, Kamala Harris, because I want to be able to congratulate her, and I think that she has also a very inspirational story. I think 3 powerful, inspirational women. Well, I think Shabana ji, because she is just such a legend, and I think that I really look up to her in so many ways, and she's a great conversationalist and like tells the most amazing stories. And I would have this one's is it dead or alive, or can it be just like it has to be alive?
They can have passed on.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay, then can I say, like, okay, so then I want to then and my most favorite author, George Eliot, because I think she was the sort of, she is the prototype for the feminist, independent, working woman who was successful at a time when women didn't have those opportunities and that space even, and she was able to carve out the space for herself. So the author George Eliot would be my third person. And okay, yeah, well, now you said passed on, so, but anyway, right, this is good for right now.
Well, I think it's a great guest list. Kamala Harris, Shabana Azmi, and George Eliot sounds like some really...
That's quite a dinner. That is quite a dinner.
It is truly quite a dinner. And on that note, Swara, thank you so very much for taking out the time. I've honestly loved chatting with you, with Chai and your dog and all the inspiration.
It's been a mess.
It's not at all. It's been so much fun. It's been amazing. And that picture behind you, I feel like you should Instagram that.
I should.
You should.
All Thanks so much. Real pleasure.
Thank you. Take care. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.